Welcome to another episode of Regional Italian Cuisine. Of course, my name is Caterina Borsato, and on this program, we're going to be talking about the kitchen. It's the hub of family life, has been for the last 150 years. When we talk about kitchens, we talk about, we go back to the 1790s when the first flat top stoves were introduced, and then we move along to the 1820s when there was a real run, in mining, and the cast iron became a big thing. There was a prolific use of cast iron stoves and cooking utensils, of course. We fast forward to the 1900s, and an amazing man had an amazing adventure, but he had an invention rather that has really withstood the test of time. I'm right here, of course, in Melbourne Road at the Aga shop, and I'm going to be introducing you to Peter Randall, who is from Aga, Australia, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the story and I guess how it's influenced our lives. Hello to Peter, welcome to the show. It's fantastic being here in the shop. Now, Aga. Is that how I say it correctly?
Yes, it is.
And it actually means a Swedish gas accumulator. Is
Swedish
right?
gas accumulator.
You're not going to tell me what the Swedish word is, are you? No. Now, let's talk to our viewers about these stoves, because these are quite an iconic brand. First developed in 1922, is that right?
1922.
Yeah.
Gustav Dahlin designed the
Right.
Aga cooker when convalescing after an accident that he had.
Right. Right, and he was a fairly famous man. He was a Swedish physician and Nobel Peace Prize winner, I believe.
He won a Nobel Peace Prize, and he was a very famous Swede. There's a museum in Stockholm with all of his inventions and other things that he did.
And what's amazing is that he invented, of course, the gas cookers, as we know. Well, not gas, but they are cookers. When he was blind, so obviously he had a real feel for what this cooker could do, because it's a very multifunctional. But he obviously had in his mind to make life a little bit easy. Now, of course, cookers really become the heart of the home. You know how you can say, just like my grandmother used to make. I know that is a bit of an advertising cliche, but if you think about cookers and you think about the smells and the warmth and everything,
Absolutely.
I guess it makes you understand about how you feel about food.
Anyone's had an Aga in their house or grown up with an Aga knows that is the heart of your home.
Yes, it is. And, of course, they're made out of cast iron, and they are cast in Coalbrookdale, which is in England. Is that correct?
Very famous foundry, started over 300 years ago in 1779.
Right.
The heart of the Industrial Revolution.
Right, absolutely. And so every single cooker gets cast from there?
Every part of it, yep.
Does it really?
Yep.
Okay, so that makes it very special, very authentic. And look, we're going to obviously talk about food as well today, but we're going to have Peter along for the journey, and he's going to give us lots of stories about why these cookers are so famous. But on that first night, we're going to go into the kitchen and we're going to see what Franca's going to do with some amazing recipes using the Aga cooker.
The first thing that we're cooking today is the first recipe is some whitebait patties with these small silvery sprats or herrings or small marine fish. Is to run them under the cold water to remove any sand or seaweed pieces or imperfections that might be in it. So once I've washed my fish or whitebait, I will strain it in a strainer, put a little bowl underneath so it catches the water, and then I'll just leave them sitting there just before I make a batter. The first thing that I do in making my batter is I need a couple of cups of all-purpose plain flour, give or take, depending on how much whitebait you've got and depending on how thick you would like your fritters to be. But we'll start off with a couple of cups. Okay, then we add some salt, some nice fine salt, just a sprinkle, some lemon pepper, that will give it a nice flavour, a sprinkle of that, some parsley. Parsley is a very, very popular Italian herb. What Italians tend to do is use minimal herbs, because the more herbs you actually use, the more flavour you are taking actually away from the natural food. So we use very minimal herbs, and parsley is very, very popular, especially with fish. So a couple of nice teaspoonfuls of chopped parsley, fresh from the garden. And then we add an egg. So I'll just test my egg. Just for any imperfections. So I'll add my egg. And lastly, I'll just add a cup of water, just warm. Okay, now I'll use my whisk to bind all that together and making sure that it's well bound together and getting rid of any lumps. In the batter, as a last component, we are going to grate some Grana Padano cheese, which will make the patties very, very, very tasty. Okay, at this stage we're ready to add our whitebait, which has strained off all the water and been cleaned nicely. And then just with a spoon, we mix that in. Of course, whitebait is never gutted, because as you can see, they're tiny fish. Okay, I'm going to pour some oil into the fry pan. This oil produces food which is very, very tasty. It is a mixture of extra virgin canola and vegetable oil. Now we're going to test our beautiful Aga cooktop, which reminds me a lot of my mum's and my grandmother's, by dropping a spoonful of the batter with the whitebait. Try to put it in neatly so you avoid all bits of batter just running around in your oil and dirt in your oil. So it's a perfect drop of a tablespoon. Don't start turning them until you think that they've got a nice firm coating on the underneath. With this nice even cooking, they've only been cooking for about a half a minute, and I can already feel as I move them around that they are ready to be turned, and I've got a nice base underneath. Transfer them to a plate with absorbent paper for them to absorb any oil. Pass around and you can eat it and enjoy.
Well, Peter, I guess that your team has really enjoyed some of these Italian recipes, yes?
They certainly have, Caterina, and have Joy and Franca being here cooking for them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're back in the kitchen with Franca.